A very good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining us here on GBS TV. It is a very good morning that we have seen today, and we thank God for that. I hope that you are well, and as we start the day, I believe that God is going to give us grace also to have a more blessed day. Today, as we start our news, we start the news with President Uhuru Kenyatta officially opened the Nairobi International Trade Fair at the Jamhuri Park Showground on Wednesday. He said the government is undertaking a measure to ensure that a new generation of farmers emerge to sustain the agricultural sector in the country. The president said there is need to ensure the sustainability of the agriculture sector by encouraging and preparation of the nation's youth through technology and innovation. He said that the government measures to ensure that the youth take up farming are informed by the fact that the average age of a Kenyan farmer is 59 years, while the average age of the consumer is 17 years. The president said 300 youth have already undergone a rigorous trainer of trainers program in Israel since 2016 as part of government's capacity building program to empower and encourage the youth to take up farming. He said that the government has continued to promote access to agriculture technology, vocational training, education training, the AVET learning opportunities under the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program.
The strategy is focusing on three key outcomes, which are, firstly, to increase smallholder farm incomes, secondly, to increase production and value addition through agro-processing, and thirdly, to build household resilience to food security and climate change. Among the measures we are putting in place to achieve these outcomes are firstly reforming the fertilizer subsidy program and replacing it with a Smart E incentive to provide inputs to smallholder farmers managed through an e-wallet system, and that will involve the private sector. Creating 6 agro-processing hubs across the country to drive value addition, and 3, creating large-scale farms for arable farming land, employing conservation agriculture, as well as private sector-led irrigation on land owned by public institutions. Kenya has a demonstrable track record of promoting technology and innovation across the full scope of economic activities. We are now seeking to embed this tradition of innovation and excellence within the agriculture and trade sectors. The policies, programs, and initiatives that promote innovation and technology in agriculture and trade in Kenya are on show here today. And in that regard, I will highlight 3 important areas in which we are leveraging on innovation and technology to boost agriculture and trade. Firstly, is our universities and research institutions that are providing leadership in developing new varieties of high-yield, drought-tolerant crops that are able to prosper in a variety of climatic conditions, while at the same time exhibiting a high degree of pest and disease resilience.
To lead efforts to retrieve the 2 bodies and the vehicle involved in the Indian Ocean tragedy last Sunday. Mr. Macharia said Ms. Koimet would lead the multi-agency team that is battling to pull out the bodies of 35-year-old Miriam Kigenda and her 4-year-old daughter Amanda Mateo.
it's a painful exercise. We have a family that is bereaved. We have stakeholders that are looking at this process. But we want to assure everybody, starting with the family, because that's the most important unit that we need to support, but also for the public and even other stakeholders who are affected by these exercises, that this exercise is ongoing. We all have one objective, which is to recover these two loved ones. The exercise is difficult. I got a briefing myself when I came to understand, and I was informed about the challenges that have been there. The depth of the channel, it is, I understand, as deep as 50 meters or even more in some places. The divers obviously are human. When they go down, they can only do, maybe an hour or so, and then they need to come up because of the oxygen requirements, and also just the human body, the assets that are being used, the fact that it has been raining, there's a lot of mud down there, so therefore visibility is low, and so on. So the slowness of the process has been contributed to by all these issues. The fact that also we have an active channel, we need this. The ferry is an important means of transport, so we also need to be able to get people across the channel for their daily, commute and their operations to continue. This is the shipping channel. All trade, seaborne trade comes through this channel, so we also need to facilitate that. And so, working with all those challenges is what has led to this slow process.
Well, sticking to the tragedy in Mombasa County Governor Ali Hassan Joho has offered 2 million Kenya shillings to help fly in 2 deep-sea diving specialists from South Africa to help in retrieving the bodies and the wreckage of the Sunday ferry tragedy. Miriam Kigenda and her 4-year-old daughter drowned when the car slithered off the ferry into the sea on Sunday at 6:15 p.m. The bodies are yet to be retrieved. The Kenya Ferry Services and a multi-agency team are carrying out the recovery operation. Joho offered the cash to the widower, John Wambua, who handed it to the officials of the Subsea Service, who are to bring in the divers. Joho said that the divers will complement ongoing efforts and speed up recovery of the bodies. The government spokesman, Cyrus Oguna, said that the divers had identified 10 points where the wreckage of the car could be. The family members blasted the state for what each termed as a slow response to the incident.
As the leader of the multi-agency teams that are conducting these salvage operations, we condole with the families of the bereaved, and we are with them in this process. Just as Madam PS has said, we are balancing the national interests of this country as well as the interests of the commuters from both sides of the island and the mainland. We have to cross 350,000 people during the peak hours. The commerce has to pass through. And of course, again, we have the limitations of darkness. But all that said and done, behind you, there's a lot of teams that are working for this operation. We have got 4 teams. We've got air teams looking at the magnetic signature of these waters. We have got 4 sets of electronic equipments that we have deployed to be able to look at how the bottom looks like vis-a-vis how it used to be, the way it is surveyed, and therefore, and of course the physical people that we send down to go and confirm those probable areas that we have seen.
And since then we've been able to inspect 5 locations that had been identified as the possible areas where we are likely to identify the possible presence of the car. Now those 5 areas we have confirmed that there are other things other than the car. Now right now the operation has been temporarily suspended to allow for the divers to refresh, refill, and get back. I would just wish to inform the public that a lot of effort is still going on, has been put into this, and will not relent until the vehicle is located and be brought to shore.
Tunaenda siku na tutoboi. Tumeambiwa kwamba kuna watu wawili ambaye wana uwezo huu na wako South Africa. Sasa mimi nimekuja kama gavana wenu. Yes. Nipatie ile fund, wametuambia wao wanahitaji milioni ngapi? 2. Nimekuja hapa kupatia support to the family, to introduce na ile kampuni ili wale mabwana waje hata kama ni leo pia wao waingie.
Away from Mombasa now, we came back to Nairobi and some politics. Aisha Jumwa was the talk of town on Tuesday after a supposedly surprise meeting with the ODM party leader, Raila Odinga. Pictures of the rebel MP, who no longer identifies with the Orange Democratic Party movement, had been widely shared online, causing jitters in several quarters. Rumor was rife that she had ditched DP Ruto's camp after Mr. Odinga visited her at the Parliamentary Service Commission office. The post was later deleted as Jumwa denied the claims, insisting that Mr. Odinga's visit was unexpected after he attended the ODM parliamentary group meeting at the county hall. She insisted that she did not attend the said meeting. Jumwa was expelled from ODM in March this year on claims of disloyalty, but a tribunal declared the party's decision as null and void 2 months later. The political parties dispute tribunal said that ODM did not follow due process as there was no formal, written and signed complaint filed with the party. On Tuesday, the supremacy battle pitting the Tanga Tanga and Kieleweke camps against each other played out in parliament buildings as insiders from both factions sought to gain control of the unexpected situation.
Na mimi nataka niseme hivi. Wenzangu kule walitoka wakasema sijui tumeona candidate wa handshake, sijui na mimi candidate wa handshake wangu ni nani? Mariga. Si ndivyo? Kwa hivyo mimi nawasihi na waomba na mimi mtakapomwona deputy president yuko, Aisha Jumwa yuko hapa. Hakuna tena mzaha. Watu wote walikimbia serikalini, sisi tunabaki upinzani tukifanya nini? Si ni kweli? Kwa hivyo kama kuna kaangwa viazi, tukule viazi na sisi. Kama watakaanga watakunywa maziwa na asali, tukunywe maziwa na asali pamoja. Hakuna vile wengine watakula maziwa na asali, sisi wengine tuendelee kulamba chumvi. Haiwezekani.
And now to some development issues where the renovation of Kenya's third biggest port is as good as done, as the country is just awaiting the synchronization of regional presidential diaries for the official launching ceremony. Indications are that all 6 presidents in the larger East African region will grace the occasion. John Magufuli of Tanzania, Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, Paul Kagame of Rwanda, Pierre Nkurunziza of Burundi, Salva Kiir of South Sudan, and Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo are all expected at the lakeside city of Kisumu for the launch of the all-important river port. The port has been refurbished at a cost of 3 billion Kenya shillings, though there are plans to modernize it further in a project funded by the World Bank to a tune of 22.5 billion Kenya shillings. President Uhuru Kenyatta and the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development, Raila Odinga, will host the event that will be historic because the economic benefits that the citizens in the region will draw from the port are many. But it is not just the port, it is the connections it will help cement. Now, in the corridors of justice, a man from Malaba was on Wednesday sentenced to life in prison after he was found guilty of defiling a 4-year-old girl. Herbert Ateri Masika, 52, was convicted by Busia Principal Magistrate Samson Temu for defiling and dumping in the bush the girl in Malaba, Busia in January 2018. The magistrate termed the act as inhumane and unlawful. Well, moving on now to some regional news. The Progress Tour, I beg your pardon for that, the federal government of Somalia and its international partners gathered in the country's capital for the 2019 Somalia Partnership Forum, an opportunity for all concerned task force to take stock of the progress made by the country, as well as agree on the priorities ahead.
Currently, there's a serious drought across many parts of Somalia, and it is important we focus on underprivileged households, particularly widows, orphans, and internally displaced people who really don't have enough food at this very, very critical moment.
Now, that's a clip where the female soldiers serving in Kenya's contingent of the African Union Mission in Somalia have launched an initiative to support families affected by the drought in southern Somalia. On Friday, the troops distributed rice, sugar, beans, biscuits, fruits, and other food items to about 150 households. Most of the beneficiaries were widows, orphans, and the elderly. The commander of the AMISOM Kenya contingent, Brigadier General Dickson Ruto, oversaw the distribution. Brigadier Ruto said that his contingent will partner with community-based organizations to deliver food and medical services to families in need. He added that the AMISOM female troops will jointly implement the initiative with their female counterparts in the Somali National Army and the Jubaland State Security Forces.
At the end of the day, what a mother wants to do is to have something to put on the table for her children. So the little that we were able to get from the AMISOM headquarters, we were able to share with them today.
Now to environmental issues now. Progress towards sustainable development in small islands developing states will require a major increase in urgent investments, according to the participants at the event. Formally titled the High-Level Midterm Review of the Small Island Development States Accelerated Modalities of Actions, also known as the Samoa Pathway. The event adopted a political declaration that reaffirms the solidarity with the countries which remain a special case for sustainable development. The Samoa Pathway, adopted at the 3rd International Conference on Small Island Developing States held in Apia, Samoa in 2014, is a dedicated 10-year program for action to promote international assistance to address the unique set of challenges these islands face. 5 years after the ambitious framework was adopted, the high-level mid-term review provides leaders with the opportunity to discuss progress on combating the devastating impact of climate change, building economic and environmental resilience, and other challenges facing small islands developing states.
The climate crisis is piling injustice upon injustice. Despite contributing very little, practically nothing, to global warming, small island developing states are paying the highest price.
There's one place the UN system can undoubtedly make a difference. It's in helping fund small states to carry out work we know and we are proving can be done.
We suffer a collective amnesia of a truth that was once understood, the truth that to cause irreversible damage to the earth is to bring the same into ourselves. Our planet is nothing more than an island floating amongst an ocean of stars. Life on a floating vessel has limited resources. It requires strict conservation practices and carefully planned navigation to ensure survival. We must work together as a global community to best steer our canoe in the right direction, the direction of a healthy and abundant future on Earth that we call home.
What concerns me is that the opportunity and the possibilities of the new economy are on our doorstep, but yet we fail to grasp them.
Well, as you can see there, actor Jason Momoa joined the United Nations Secretary General and other leaders from the small islands, developing states at the special event to urge actions to address devastating impacts of climate change on the vulnerable countries. Actor Jason is famously known for his movie, The Aquaman. If you've watched that movie, I watched it and I loved it. Moving on now, coming back closer home, the federal government of Somalia and its international partners have gathered in the country's capital for the 2019 Somalia Partnership Forum, an opportunity for all concerned stakeholders to take stock of the progress made by the country as well as agree on priorities ahead. Leading discussions along the Deputy Prime Minister were the UN Secretary General of Special Representative for Somalia, James Swan, and the Special Representative of the Chairperson of the African Union Commission for Somalia, Ambassador Francis Madeira. Somalia's Deputy Prime Minister Mahdi Mohamed Gulaid, in his remarks at the two-day event opening, hailed the gains achieved.
Somalia continues to make ever-increasing strides in overcoming challenges it presently on security, economic recovery, and social development. These landmark achievements so far have been made thanks to the commitments from the Somali political stakeholders, with generous financial and technical assistance from our international partners. Despite the promising prospects, we are under no illusion to underestimate the myriad of challenges ahead of the country's road to full recovery, which demands concerted political and financial commitments from both local stakeholders and international partners.
The Somalia Partnership Forum now offers an opportunity to chart a course forward for the next 12 to 15 months with clearly defined priority objectives and timelines. While acknowledging, indeed celebrating, the progress to date, we must also be honest and frank about the challenges that remain. And together, we must redouble our efforts to overcome these challenges and ensure that 2020 is the year of delivery on the most important priorities. We will have a further chance to hear additional details from the federal government of Somalia. Preparations for national elections and the constitutional review to be completed within the agreed timelines.
The discussions among the Somali officials, ambassadors, and other representatives centered on the areas of economic reforms, security and justice reforms, inclusive politics, social development, and principles of partnership. The gathering concluded today, at which it will hear further from the country's federal authorities as well as participating federal member states, and which the communique on the way forward is expected to be issued.
As we focus together on the coming year, among specific priorities we particularly look forward to discussing today are preparations for national elections and the constitutional review to be completed within the agreed timelines.
This is a telling message that Somalia has come a long way in building a conducive environment and the capacity to perform its role as a fully fledged member of the international community, including the capacity to host international conferences like this one in its own territory.
rights or basics. Now to another story. Statelessness affects millions of people worldwide, depriving them of their legal rights or basic services and having them politically and economically marginalized, discriminated against, and particularly vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. Through his organization, the Fergana Valley Lawyers Without Borders, Azibek helped well over 10,000 people to gain a Kazakh nationality after they became stateless following the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Among them, some 2,000 children will now have the right to an education and a father with the freedom to travel, marry and work.
This award not all about me, of course. This I'm more than confident that this award of people who devoted themselves to work on end statelessness around the world. Our colleagues in Kyrgyzstan, our government officers who was involved on this work, UNHCR colleagues who shared their great experience to achieve these problems. Yeah.
It was very timely to give the Nansen Award to a champion of statelessness who in his country, Kyrgyzstan, has contributed to eliminate this scourge. This is the first country in the world that has eliminated completely statelessness, and I think it's very important to mark this occasion.
Well, that bit brings us to the end of this segment of our program this morning. Don't forget to keep the conversation going on our Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at Kenya GBS. Our hashtag is at #MorningExtra. Well, for now, we take a short break, but before that, we take a look at the weather forecast and today in history.